In less than 3 weeks, Skybound will be releasing Transformers issue number 1, written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson. Now, for those of you who know me and are familiar with this channel, I am a huge fan of his and have had the opportunity to meet him on multiple occasions, and even own some sketches, signatures, and original art by him. So when he announced that he was doing a Transformers book, I was ecstatic, especially because he is a self-professed Optimus Prime mega fan and regards the character as one of the best heroes in all of pop culture and entertainment. And I think it's safe for me to say that a lot of other people are stoked for this news as well. DWJ is one of the best, if not the best, current working creators in the mainstream industry right now, and is loved by everyone. So I couldn't help but wonder, could this series potentially save the comic book industry? Could Daniel Warren Johnson single-handedly bring back new and old fans into the comic shops to rejuvenate and reinvigorate an industry that has been slowly passing away? Well, according to Bleeding Cool, their sources say that Transformers number 1 has launched with orders in excess of 153,000 units, which is not only a record for any Hasbro licensed comic launched this century, but also the top-selling debut for Skybound, outside of The Walking Dead number 1. They go on to say that the buzz for this book has been growing so much that it may influence and have a major impact on the big two, Marvel and DC, potentially making it the big three, Marvel, DC, and Energon. So it looks like even Bleeding Cool was asking the same question that I had, but realistically, if I had to answer my own question, unfortunately I would have to say no. I don't think that this will save the comic industry. For example, let's look at the sales from a random book from the 90s that had zero variants and zero hype. Larry Hama and Mark Silvestri have one of my favorite runs on Wolverine to date, so I chose issue number 52 from 1992. If you go into the back of this book, it actually says that the number of copies sold on this was 400,000. Well, 410,400 to be exact. And I feel like this issue was still before the big comics boom and bust in the mid to late 90s. So this was just a run-of-the-mill book. This had no spec value, no variant covers, no trading card sets or holofoil covers, no gimmicky storyline. It wasn't part of a larger event or tie-in, and it wasn't a number 1 issue. It was just a random book in the middle of the series, and yet it was still selling upwards of 500,000 copies. So if we can't even get the biggest name in comics right now, on one of the biggest franchises in the industry, on a number 1 issue with retail incentive variant covers to sell over 500,000 copies, how is this even close to being compared to Marvel or DC? Or, with that being said, how could it save the industry? But the thing is, I truly do want this to do really well. I want this to sell 500,000 to 1 million copies. That would be incredible to see all kinds of fans flooding into the comic shops, purchasing and enjoying this series, and experiencing the hype we have all been missing for years. But unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. Let's also look at the 153,000 copies being ordered. Even if that was an industry-saving number, which it's not, where did we get this arbitrary 153,000 from? Who is Bleeding Cool's source? Publishers, distributors, retailers, Marvel, DC, and Image all won't share their sales numbers, and we haven't gotten anything from Comicron or ICV2 for the last year or for this year. In another article published by Bleeding Cool, Rich Johnston says, "Do you know what the best-selling comic book is right now? Why would you know? And how could you know? There hasn't been anything resembling an industry-wide sales chart since DC left Diamond for Lunar in 2020. In another article, he states that I have been reliably informed that the 3 biggest direct market publishers, Marvel, DC, and Image, have let it be known that they would like those numbers out, but that Marvel and DC won't share any data unless they are all sharing data, and neither is willing to go first or to trust anyone to be an impartial third party." Wait, so if Marvel and DC have been selling such great numbers, and if the industry has never been better, why hide these amazing numbers? For example, when Top Gun Maverick came out in theaters, all I kept hearing from the media was how well this movie was doing financially. Even every YouTube video I watched would talk about the ticket sales, the box office numbers, and how it was going to be the best movie of the year. So why wouldn't these companies be willing to brag about their sales regardless of whether or not anyone else is sharing their data? So that's just it. If all these publishers aren't willing to share their order number or the copies sold to retailers, how did we get this mysterious 153,000, and who is this reliable source? And out of that 153,000, how many people are actually going to read this book? There is a 1 in 100 incentive variant that will most likely be ordered and then flipped on the secondary market so that someone else can buy it and then send it to CGC to get graded. And this will most likely happen with a lot of copies of this book. They'll either get flipped or graded or speculated on, but who will actually be taking the time to admire the work and enjoy the craft of the brilliant artistry of DWJ's masterpiece? I do want to reiterate that I still am really excited for this series. This is probably my most anticipated book of 2023 and could arguably be the best thing we receive for all of this year and next year. So I am really looking forward to this, and I know that DWJ is going to crush it with his interpretation and that it will in fact sell really well. I just don't think it has the chance of invigorating the industry as a whole. Until we see a complete restructuring of the comic industry, I mean like gutting it from the inside out and starting from scratch, it's going to take a miracle to bring back something that is healthy and thriving. So, what do y'all think? Are y'all excited for this new series? And if so, will you be reading it? What are some things that you believe could potentially save this industry? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.